welcome to another episode of Wellbeing at Work, a workplace options podcast. I'm Emily Fournier, a marketing and communications manager here at Workplace Options, and in just a moment, I'll be joined by Burd, Director of Business Solutions at WPO, to discuss the growing value of counseling solutions in the face of ever-increasing disability claims tied to mental health. In recent years, mental health-related claims have quickly moved from the margins to dominate the disability landscape, accounting for more than a third of all claims in major markets like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and nearly half in countries like the UK. Even more concerning than their prevalence, however, are their costs. Mental health claims are consistently among the most prolonged and expensive claims to resolve, placing mounting pressure on insurers to intervene further upstream. In light of this, counseling solutions emerge as a clear path forward. Not only are they well suited to address the explosive rise in claims and demand for care, but they also align with the broader industry shift toward a more comprehensive and better supported customer journey. That said, here to comment on the pivotal role of counseling for the future of disability insurance is WPO Director of Business Solutions Burd, whose over 20 years of experience in workforce effectiveness and strategy development makes her a trusted expert on policyholder well-being and work continuity. Hi, Kay. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Emily, and thank you for the invitation to talk with you today.
Of course. So to get started, I'd like to ask about why you think the insurance approach to mental health has changed. Historically, the story went that mental health-related claims were often denied and seen as a losing case. So what's behind today's efforts to address psychological injury in the insurance space?
To answer your question most succinctly, I would say it's increased awareness and accountability. They're the big reasons for addressing psychological injury in the insurance space and elsewhere. Generally, organizations recognize their duty to create safe and healthy work environments, but with more awareness and insight, organizations and their insurers are recognizing that safe and healthy includes both physical and psychological well-being. In a review of anonymized data conducted by Workplace Options last year, there were 4 workplace concerns that impacted psychological safety that were most prevalent. They were job performance, managerial conflict, lack of recognition, and work-life balance. All of those things leading to potential stress, to burnout, to disengagement, and ultimately to having employees leave. So companies want to have resources in place to address these risks to better attract, engage, and retain their employees, thereby positively impacting their innovation, their productivity, and the company's overall growth. Layered on top of the company's best interest, an increasing number of states and countries, such as Australia, like you mentioned, Mexico, and Japan, they recognize psychological safety and have legislation passed to address it. Incorporating mental health into disability claims, both proactively through organizational psychosocial risk assessments and through the provision of individual counseling sessions, minimizes the likelihood of disruption and duration of sickness-related absences. Insurers who incorporate mental health support ensure timely, effective, and clear recovery for claimants. It also enhances the return-to-work outcomes. And meeting these expectations strengthens their relationships with their clients and improves policy renewals. I believe that you'll be hosting a separate podcast, if I remember our conversation correctly, to really identify and talk through the role of psychosocial risk assessments, but that's for a future podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And yes, you're right. We absolutely will be talking about that in a future episode, so stay tuned for that. And speaking of other episodes, in a previous podcast, you mentioned a growing focus you've observed among insurers on engaging with clients more than a just renewal, and really building out that customer experience. Why do you think that is, and how does mental health support complement this approach?
When mental health is outside the insurer's control, the potential obstacles such as, long wait times, stigma, time constraints, and geographic constraints can inhibit care, right? And so it keeps the policyholder from really getting the support they need. Whereas with the managed care through the insurer, the availability of services that varies greatly by region can be overcome. So what we see is If it's left up to the individual and the market in general, appointments can take up to several weeks or months. In areas where stigma exists, policyholders may be discouraged from seeking care, preventative or curative, out of fear of being judged or discriminated against. And then there's the time and geographic constraints that make commuting to and from appointments a challenge and also inhibit outreach. So again, when within the insurer's control, the guarantees for quick access to confidential care, to in-person or virtual support, overcomes all of these barriers and gets the people the help they need so that they can recover as quickly as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an excellent point. And finally, one last question before we go. Looking ahead, where do you see mental health support fitting into disability insurers' overall strategy? Do you think it will remain a nice to have or evolve into something more foundational?
Hard to say. I'm not a seer of the future, but I think that add-on mental health support should be integral to disability insurers' overall strategy. I think the psychosocial risk assessment should be offered proactively as a tool to insurers' clients to help them identify and address their risks, or at least consider the assessments to help with underwriting. Again, more to be discussed on this subject in a different podcast. At a minimum, I think we'll see more insurers owning the delivery of mental health care by incorporating it into their disability programs. This way, it ensures care is provided when it's most impactful and improves that return to work outcome.
Fantastic. Well, that concludes our discussion for today. Thank you so much again, Kay, for joining me and for sharing your thoughts with us. To our listeners, please stay tuned for future episodes where we'll continue to unpack the benefits of WPO services in enhancing insurance portfolios. Until then, thanks for listening and take care.